Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Jessica McDonald. I'm a knitting pattern designer and I'm coming to you from a tiny town in the mountains of Idaho. The final official pictures for Bough and Little Bough, a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. So today is Thursday. It will be 2 weeks tomorrow that we took the photos of those sweaters. And I took some video clips up in the mountains to share with you all. So that's what you will have seen just right before now. It was a lot of fun to go up there. It was kind of a trying to storm kind of day, but not really succeeding. So it was overcast, which is absolute perfect light for when you want to take pictures of knitwear. And it wasn't too super cold and it wasn't too super windy, so we stayed warm enough in just our sweaters and our dresses and our wool leggings. It was, I think, 40 degrees or so, and we stayed warm enough, which was nice because it's never fun when you're trying to take pictures and you're an absolute icicle. But the place where we went is not all that far. I'm actually looking at it right now. I'm in my kitchen, this is my dining room here that I'm filming in today, so I have a different view than I usually do when I film. So if I look off this way, I can see the area in the mountains where there's a pass, and we went up that to find our place to take the photos. It's really close to our house. It takes like 30 minutes to get to where we took the photos, and we're well into the wilderness out there. So it's not too far away, but we get some really good wild pictures to share with everyone. But the reason I am in a different spot today is because my husband is working from home a few days a week. It's just kind of a temporary thing. And he's taken over my office, which is where I usually film, except he's set up like multiple computer screens and all of this stuff. And I decided that I didn't want to look like I was sitting in Best Buy as I was filming this podcast. So I decided to film. This is the dining room table. The kids are all at grandma's, so I have the house to myself today. I might ramble a little bit at the beginning of this before we get into knitting, but I promise you there will be some knitting. Last week I did not film a podcast because we had COVID. All of us had COVID except for Aiden, the youngest. He didn't have COVID then, but I'm pretty sure he has it now. It's not bad for him though. So we were all really sick, so I decided to just forego filming for the week. Usually I film on Wednesday or Thursday, and I was like, I couldn't knit anything. I had bad fever. Everything that I tried to knit, I ultimately had to just rip out because it was terrible. I just needed to go to bed. And then on a week ago now, so today is Thursday, it was last week Thursday, I went out to feed the sheep in the morning and discovered that 2 of them had been killed during the night by a mountain lion. So that was a really difficult day. There were a lot of tears that day. But we have been spending a lot of time trying to sort all that stuff out. This mountain lion apparently has been living near our house for quite some time, and it has some usual pathways through our property, which we only have 40 acres, so it's not huge by any means. We're surrounded by fields, so it's not like we're out in the wilderness in the mountains somewhere. We're in the middle of a bunch of fields. But this mountain lion has apparently been living near us for quite some time and has its usual pathways across our property, and my husband and I are pretty freaked out. Our children are outside all of the time, and mountain lions will eat kids. So we are working with the state to try to trap it and remove it from here so that we don't have to worry about the kids going outside and getting snatched by a mountain lion. But also we're concerned about the safety of the sheep, so they get locked up every single night and then let out in the morning. Yeah, actually it was a few nights ago, I think it was Monday evening, I went out to lock up the sheep, and it was right after the sun had set, like maybe 10 minutes after sunset. And I heard it. I heard the mountain lion. They make this like, it's not like they're howling or yowling constantly. It's like this weird little barky meow thing. I don't know how to describe it. But my dog was barking, and then I heard it making that sound, and I looked down where the sound was coming from, and I saw an animal moving around down there, and I'm pretty confident that what I saw was the mountain lion. Which is, like, I was standing right next to my house when I saw it, so I am more than a little bit freaked out, and if the sun is not up, nobody goes outside, is kind of our rule now, because that's really dangerous. We have also found a livestock guardian puppy that will be joining us in a little more than a week. It's going to be very, very young. It's only going to be, I think, 10 weeks old, either 8 or 10 weeks old, somewhere in that range. And it will be joining us, and it will be living in the barn with the sheep. And it won't be old enough to actually start guarding right away because it's still a baby. But from what I've read, they start to protect around 4 months old, although they're not really super professional until they're a year or two old. But still, I think if I had something, you might hear my dog is wanting in. We do have 2 dogs, but both of them are old and they sleep in the house, so they're not going to be any use against any kind of predator. Like, they're pet dogs, they're not a livestock guardian dog. So we're getting a livestock guardian dog puppy to live in our barn and keep our sheep safe, and also I really want it to help keep the kids safe too, so that they can go freely play outside and we don't have to worry about them getting snatched. So I have not slept much lately. I'm really stressed out by this mountain lion thing, and so I don't have a ton of knitting to show you today, but I do have some because I have spent a ton of time researching guardian dogs and looking for one that's available, and messaging people who have puppies available. That's been like 99% of what I've done over the last week. So anyway, that's what's going on in our real life. In our real life, like knitting isn't real life? No, that's not acceptable. That's what's going on in our outside of knitting life. I actually can see the sheep from right here, because there's this window here, and I can see them right there. They're out in the pasture. One of the reasons I think that they were safe all summer is because they would sleep out on the pasture, but since I have them split into 2 breeding groups, I had to separate the breeding groups really far from each other because the rams are just destroying any fence that's between them. They're idiots, oh my gosh, such idiots. But I had to separate them quite a ways, so I had one group out on the pasture and one group was in by the barn, not locked in the barn, but in the barnyard area, and that was the group that got attacked. But I think it was attacked because the mountain lion can get really near to the barn, still undercover, because we have a lot of sagebrush, really thick sagebrush growing over there, but out on the pasture it would have had to cross a really large open area, and they don't like to do that. So we've been having some less bucolic and romantic farm reality this week. But once we have our guardian puppy, once it's old enough to actually guard, like, all it's really gonna need to do is bark and intimidate, and then the predators won't really come in unless they're really desperate or there's a large group of them, which I don't know that we have to worry about that. So it should be okay once we have our puppy to the edge where he can actually guard. Anyway, let's move into knitting. I see I've spent 9 minutes talking about not knitting, so let's move into the knitting. What I am wearing now is Blizzard. That's what I'm wearing today. This is a pattern that I released, I think 2 winters ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I might have been 3, but I'm pretty sure it was 2. This sweater was designed specifically to be somebody's first colorwork sweater, and I used this sweater to demonstrate the techniques in my how to knit colorwork video. So if you want to learn how to knit colorwork, I have a tutorial video that will teach you everything about knitting colorwork, and you can also knit this sweater, or also if you want another good first colorwork sweater, my fletching is also another really good one. But I'll put links to Blizzard down in the description box below, and I'll also put links to the how to knit colorwork tutorial in the description box below in case you want to go and learn how to knit colorwork. This is one of my favorite sweaters, and I think a large part of that is because the yarn is so nice. It's 2 years old. I'm sitting far away from my dining room table is between me and my tripod, so I can't get up super close to show you. But there's really almost no pilling. I've never de-pilled this sweater, but there's almost no pilling, even under the arms, which is where you usually get the worst pilling. And I think it's because this yarn is so nice. This is Better Breakfast DK from Bare Naked Wools. I'll also put a link to that in the description box below. It's a really, really nice yarn. It's nice and soft. It has a little bit of drape to it, but not a ton, but it's a little bit drapey. It doesn't create like a really stiff woolly fabric. And it wears really, really nice, really nice. So now let me show you what I have been working on. So not months ago, earlier this fall, that's probably the right timeline. Earlier this fall, I was sitting there and I'm like, I would really love a plastic-free, no nylon, made in the United States sock yarn, and I can't find one. And then literally 2 days later, I get an email from Maggie at the Woolly Thistle, and she's like, I think you would like to try Rambler. I was like, what is Rambler? And then I looked it up on their website and I was like, yes, I would like to try Rambler. So the Woolly Thistle is an online yarn store. I will include a link in the description box below. And they have made their own sock yarn, and it's called Rambler. It actually has I have to show you the label. It's really pretty. If I can get it out of here without destroying my cake. So here's the label. I really, really love those botanical line drawings. I just love botanical line drawings anyway, and so I really love this label. It's really pretty. When I cake my yarn, I always just fold up the label and stuff it in the middle so I know what yarn this is. I never lose the label for my yarns. So I got 2 skeins of Rambler. It's a fingering weight yarn. It is designed specifically to be good for hard wearing items like socks. It's kind of designed to be a sock yarn, but you could also use it for other things that you want to have a sturdy yarn for. Let me read you the label. Inspired by our love for British breeds and sourced from American wools within the Southern Adirondack Fiber Producers Cooperative, Rambler is spun in New York State, crisp and woolly. This 3-ply, 100% wool yarn is sturdy enough for socks, mitts, and so much more. It's 80% Dorset, 10% Corriedale, and 10% Grey Romney, 420 yards per skein. So it's quite a lot of yardage per skein. I got the colors Pine. This green is Pine. And this is Natural. I'm pretty sure this one is the undyed colorway. It's kind of got a heathered look to it, and it's a little bit oatmealish in color. And then this one is just a nice dark pine green. So they sent me these 2 skeins to try out and come up with a design for, and this is what I came up with. So I'm going to call this Forest Path. These are the Forest Path socks. I'm going to awkwardly stand up so I can get this closer to you. This is what the colorwork looks like. I designed this color work with reckless abandon. You can see that the repeat is enormous. There's only 3 repeats all the way around. You've got this really cool branched star, and then you have the pine trees on either side of the branched star. So I designed this colorwork motif without considering its scalability. What I mean by that is I didn't think about making it easy to grade. Like when I did the white Christmas socks, I decided I would design the colorwork motif across 8 stitches so that I could grade on 1-inch increments. On this one, I was just like, I'm just gonna design something and then I'll make it work. My dog is, my dog wants in. I tried to let her in before I sat down to film, and she just looked at me with utter disdain and was like, no, I'm not coming in. And now, of course, she wants in. So I designed this colorwork motif without thinking about how it could be graded, and I decided I would just figure that part out later because I was really excited about my idea. So this is the motif, and there are 4 sizes in this sock design, and how I graded it is I added space around the tree. So you can see that we've got the branches of the star kind of framing the tree. This is size medium. There's 1 size larger than this, and so in the size that's larger, there's 1 more stitch on either side of this tree, so there's a little more space between the tree and the star. And then there's 2 sizes smaller, and for the smaller sizes, they get closer together. They get the stars, these branched stars, come closer to the tree, so the colorwork motif has a little less white space in it, and it's a little bit closer together. So that's how I managed the grading, so that I would have it, so that I could offer it in multiple sizes, because it's like, it's hard for people if I didn't offer multiple sizes, because like you could say, okay, most people are going to fit a size medium, which is roughly 8-inch. Foot circumference, leg circumference, they're both the same. But not everyone's going to fit that. So if you look at it and you're like, oh, I love that, but your feet are a lot daintier than mine, you wouldn't be able to wear it, and then that would just be disappointing for you. So I like to make sure there's several sizes at least, so that you can make yourself a pair that actually fits. So this is the first sock. I decided, after I knit the leg, I decided I needed to put the beginning of the round at the center back of the leg. So how I'm holding it now, this will be at the front of your leg. Maybe I can put it on my arm and you can see it better. So this will be the front of your leg, and then this will be the side of your leg. Sort of. My arm's a bit skinnier than my leg, and the other side will look exactly the same. I can't twist that around. So I put the beginning of the round at the center back. Usually the beginning of the round is at the side of the foot, but I decided for this one to orient the color work in a way that I liked best. I would put the beginning of the round at the center back of the leg. I also couldn't just shift where the beginning of the round is, because then it would be in the middle of one of the trees, and then the tree would look funky. This is what the beginning of the round looks like right here. It's right in the center of this star. You can see there's a little bit of wonkiness around these two, but it's not bad at all. I have had a number of people ask me, they want to know how to knit jogless color work, and I am going to try to figure that out, and I did try to figure that out the first time I was knitting this sock, except that was one of the days I had really bad fever, and it was just an absolute disaster. So I will have to figure that out at another time. I decided that that would be a good thing to figure out with a swatch, and at a time when I did not have a fever. So I'll figure that out eventually, but for now, this is what the beginning of the round looks like. I actually don't mind that little jog in the color work at the beginning of the round. I kind of just take it as that's just how it works, but I know it bothers some people, so I'll try to figure out a solution to that, but not right now. I will probably try to figure it out Well, actually no. This one has a nice gap between the repeats, so I might not. There's not really any need for it. So this is my current, the only thing I have on the needles is this. And you can see I'm working on the heel right now. I just started the heel flap. But I've also knit a lovely swatch. This is gonna be one of the sweaters I knit this winter. Oh, it looks really cool on the screen, doesn't it? I have been obsessed with these giant stars. That was a hair that I knit into it. Sorry. I have been obsessed with these giant stars. I especially love the ones that have these branched arms that come out the side like this. I love them so much. My dog just dumped all of her food out. I have been obsessed with these stars, and I especially love the ones with the branched sides, and I have been dying to put it into a sweater. But the problem is that they're really, really big. This is a sport weight yarn. So you can see this is a good size star. It's really deep, it's really wide. It's probably 4 inches by 4 inches at least, if not a little bit bigger. The trouble is that it's really difficult to put a giant star at the bottom of a yoke. I have done it a couple of times in recently Borealis and then also Winter Woods. They have a pretty big star at the bottom of their yokes, but that star is much smaller than the star that are on those two sweaters are much smaller than this star. This is a much bigger star. And I have been wanting to just take a giant star and put it somewhere on a sweater. So this is going to go on a sweater, but I'm not going to tell you where because it's going to take me a while to design this. So I'm not going to tell you where it's going to go, but I haven't figured out where it's going to go to make it look nice. I was also thinking, so this is a sport weight yarn. This is North Bay Fiber Co. Heritage in the sport weight base. They also have a DK weight base. And I have the sport weight. She sent me a few skeins of the sport weight to try out. And I was thinking that I would swatch in the sport weight and see that I like the star, but then I would do the sweater in the DK weight. But now that I've swatched, I think I'm gonna do the sweater in the sport weight for a couple reasons. First of all, as I was knitting the swatch, I absolutely fell in love with the sport weight. It was so nice. The DK weight is also really nice. But I fell in love with knitting with the sport weight. It was just really enjoyable. I loved it. And the DK weight would be just as enjoyable too. But the star is huge. It's really deep. And if I switch to a heavier weight yarn and do this same color work, it's gonna be, you know, much, much deeper. I need a lot more space in the sweater than the sport weight does. So what I'm thinking now is I'm going to do this in the sport weight base, which is what I have swatched in here. And yeah, it's gonna turn out really lovely. This yarn, oh my goodness. This is a woolen spun yarn. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I love a good woolen spun yarn. They're just absolutely amazing to die for yarn. Like, I really love how lofty they are and how lightweight they are, and I like the fabric that they produce. It is kind of a, it's really lightweight. It's really, some can be drapey, some can be a little bit stiffer, some can be woolier, but the fabric that they create is amazing. They tend to wear really nicely, and it's just my favorite. I need to write a whole blog post about why I love woolen spun yarns best. I think I'll do that. I'm a little bit lost for words right now, but woolen spun yarns are my favorite. And this is a US grown and milled woolen spun yarn. I'll put a link in the description box below to this yarn. But this will be the yarn that I use for the sweater. The colors are pumpkin seed, that's the main color, and then the white is just natural undyed color. I was originally planning to do it with the pumpkin seed as the contrast color, and I was going to put a light colored neutral in the background, probably not the natural. She has two, I think one's called Sandpoint and one's called Steelhead. She has two light colored neutrals, and you know how I am about light colored neutrals for the background color work. Then I was like, no, you know what, let me try the pumpkin seed as the main color, because I really, really like the pumpkin seed. It's a really nice rusty browny orange color. You can see it there. It's a really, really beautiful color. So it's like, maybe I want a whole sweater in this color with just, and do the contrast in white, and then it will stand out and it will just be really, really cool. And it turned out really, really cool. So this will be a future upcoming sweater. I still need to get the yarn, but I have swatched for it. So this will come eventually. I don't know when. I have decided not to make a schedule for myself because life is busy. But another thing I want to show you, I have a few small things going on. It's living in my giant basket. This is a bag of wool stuffing from Mountain Meadow Wool is where I found it from. I am knitting a set of sleepy kitties for my children for Christmas. I planned at this time of the year last year, I thought, ooh, that would be super cool, but obviously I don't have time to do that. And so I bought the pattern and I bought all of the supplies, the yarn and everything last December, and I was like, I will knit one kitten per quarter, and then I will have all 4 of my kittens done, and I won't be hurried and rushed. And then I just didn't do it. So anyway, you have to actually follow through with your plans. So here I am, 6 weeks before Christmas, and this is my first kitty. This is number 1. He doesn't have a head yet. He's got arms and legs and a tail. All of the ends are still everywhere. He's all spaghettied. This is the first sleepy kitty. And I have 1 ear made. So there's the first ear. I need to make the other ear and then the head, and then he will be all assembled, and I'll just have to do the finishing of weaving in all of the ends and stitching on the eyes and the mouth and stuff. Here is the sleepy kitty. This is a pattern by Susan B. Anderson, and I'm also using Barrett Wool Co. Wisconsin Woolen Spun, which is also Susan B. Anderson's yarn. I made a modification, that is, I did not do the feet, so there's it has a large shaped foot, and I did knit 1 foot, and I really hated it, like the process of knitting the foot, and I just thought to myself, I cannot knit 7 more of these feet. And so I decided that I was just going to do them straight and no feet. That way also, if I decide I want to knit them some socks, I just have to knit a tube basically, and I don't have to do any shaping. One of the things that really held me up was I sat down almost a year ago to cast on, and at the very beginning you start with Judy's Magic Cast On. I don't generally think it should be a big deal to all of a sudden have a different cast on that you're not familiar with to start a project, until all of a sudden it was me with a different cast on as I was beginning the project, because just I sat down with it and it said Judy's Magic Cast On, and I put it away for months because I just didn't want to look up the video. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And then I finally looked up Judy's Magic Cast On, and I had so much trouble with it. I couldn't manage to do the cast on in a way that I didn't have a row of purl bumps at the very center of the cast on. I just couldn't figure it out, and so I ended up switching. I switched to the Turkish cast on. I was turned onto that recently while I was watching the It's a Sarah podcast. I'm pretty sure it was from her. There was some podcaster I was watching, and she was talking about starting her toe-up socks with the Turkish cast on, or it was something. It was something like that. Something like a toe-up sock. No, maybe it was, I can't remember her name. I'll put it in the description box below. A lovely something. But some podcaster that I was watching mentioned the Turkish cast on, and so I decided to try it. And the Turkish cast on is incredibly easy. You basically just lay your 2 needles next to each other and wind your yarn around and then start knitting. Super easy, and I was able to figure it out and do it. And I have completely seamless. This is where I started my cast on. You can see there's no purl bump. It's completely seamless, just perfectly seamless round edge. So you need the Turkish cast-ons for the beginnings of the legs and the arms and the tail, of course, as well. And so learning the Turkish cast-on got me on my way. I was originally thinking you're not supposed to stuff the legs. I considered stuffing them, and then I thought, oh, I better listen to Susan. I'm sure she knows much better than me. So I didn't stuff the legs. So they're kind of floppy, but I don't think that will matter. And then the body is all stuffed with this wool stuffing. Right here, it's from Mountain Meadow Wool. It was important to me that it be really high quality natural materials because I would like this to be kind of like an heirloom thing that my kids keep. I also want them to play with it. Really hard and heavy. Part of the reason why I chose the Wisconsin woolen spun is because I know that it's not going to pill, and I know it's going to wear really well. Because I have 2 sweaters knit in this Wisconsin woolen spun, and neither of them have pilled at all. It's really soft, but it doesn't pill at all. This is a woolen spun yarn, again, that I love. So here's the first kitty. I'm not sure what color this is. I bought, oh, the tag is gone. There's no tag in the middle. Oh dear. I bought 2 shades of gray and I bought a skein of white. So I thought I would make them like the base for 2, 1 shade of gray, and the base for the other 2, a different shade of gray. And then I would use the white to duplicate stitch patches of white on the kitties so that it's easy to tell them apart, so each kid is able to easily identify their own cat, because I don't want them to get their kitties mixed up and then fight about it. So this is intended to be a Christmas gift. Here's the first one, but I can't knit it in front of my children. And most of my knitting time is in front of my children, so I'm having to do this just little bit by little bit in the evening, and I think I need to, probably gonna have to stay up late a few nights, honestly, to finish them. I'd also really like to get some yarn and knit them some little sweaters and stuff too, so that they have little outfits. That's another thing that I am working on. But I am coming up to a serious problem because Thanksgiving is in 1 week from today, and I have nothing to knit. Obviously, I have things to knit, but I don't have a suitable project to take in the car because we're going to my parents' house, which is about 4 hours. So I have 8 hours of car knitting plus all of the various time just sitting around, visiting, playing games, you know, all of that stuff. In the evenings after everybody's gone to bed, I want something to knit. And I don't have something that's suitable for this. I can't take this along because my kids are gonna be there and they're gonna be like, hey, what's that? So I can't take the sleepy kitties. They have to stay home. Although I could probably knock one out on each half of the drive. I've probably only put 2 hours of knitting into the one that I've got here. So it probably wouldn't take too long to knit them. Probably only 3 or 4 hours per kitty. But this sock is gonna be done, and the other one's probably gonna be done by the time we leave, so they're not a really good option. Also, I don't really like socks for my travel project because my hands haven't quite gotten accustomed to knitting on really tiny needles at a really tight gauge. They're a lot better than it used to be. It used to be that every time I knit socks, my hands would be killing me and I could only knit for like 30 minutes at a time on a sock, but now I can knit for a good while on a sock before my hands start complaining. But it's not really a suitable project for me. I can't sit and knit on a sock for 4 hours yet. So I need to come up with a project, and fast, because in 6 days I'm going to be in the car for 4 hours, and I cannot sit in the car for 4 hours and just sit there. I need to have something to knit. So I went into my closet, which has multiple sweater quantities of yarn on hand for emergency situations, just like this. And I have, this yarn is from the lady I bought my sheep from. Like, look how drapey that is. Look how drapey that is. It won't even stand up. This yarn is from the lady who I bought my sheep from, Cedar View Farm. It is Finnsheep. It is a DK weight, I'm pretty sure. Yes, this is a DK weight. It's a natural undyed colorway. This is a dark charcoal color. I bought this from her a few months ago, quite a few months ago, and I have in mind a very, very simple cardigan pattern that I'd like to turn this into. And not only is it very simple to knit, but I also think it would be very simple to grade and write, because, well, I also have to consider the time, you know. That's part of the prep for me. I can't just print out the pattern, engage swatch, and then, you know, throw everything in a project bag and go. I also have to grade it and write the pattern as part of my preparation for a new project. So I've been planning this for months. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I need to work up a swatch, and then I need to write it out. One of the problems is I'm not sure how I'm going to do the neckline from the top of the shoulders around to the back neck. So I have to figure that a little bit out, but everything else has been figured out. I do need to swatch this. I think I'm going to wind this up and start swatching away on this, and then write up the pattern so that I have something to knit. Because I desperately need something to knit. I cannot go without knitting. But this is Finnsheep. Our sheep are Finnsheep. This yarn is from Finnsheep. It's really silky. It's really soft. It's going to be, the fabric that it's going to create is going to have a fair bit of drape in it. So I'm planning to do a boxy style cardigan with this. It's going to be a little bit shorter, so that I can wear it over my dresses and my high-waisted skirts. And that is the plan. But it's going to be, it's really drapey. I will also put a link to her farm website, which is where you can buy the yarn from if you would like to also buy the Finnsheep yarn. It's really beautiful stuff, you guys. Just feeling her skein of yarn makes me really, really happy. I bought my sheep from her because it means that in another year or so, when my sheep have had their yarn turned in, their fleeces turned into yarn, it's gonna feel like this. So that is what I am up to, knitting wise. I'm not going to come back next week with another episode because Thanksgiving is next week, Thursday, and it would just be too much. So I'm not going to come back with an episode next week. So you'll see me in 2 weeks from now, and hopefully I have another giant pile of things to show you, and hopefully I have a good chunk of this cardigan done, because that would be super fun to show you. If you are interested in my designs, Forest Path is going to come out at the beginning of December, I'm thinking, and Bough will be out in a week and a half or so. Well, that's pretty quick. So sign up for my email newsletter. There's a link in the description box below. Please subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more of my videos, and I will see you guys in another couple of weeks. Bye!